Yate, welcome to Little Chase. Today is Indigenous Peoples Day and it's a good day to be native. With this video, we're going to talk about Miguel Trujillo, a veteran from Isleta Pueblo who sued the state of New Mexico for the right to vote. But in order to do that, we need to understand that as Native Americans, we are both Native and American. We are told it's as if we are walking in two worlds. Yet as poetic as it sounds, there's tension because there's an imbalance in power between sovereign nations. And because the United States has tried and failed and succeeded at assimilating Indigenous people through boarding schools, policies of allotment, and the extension of citizenship under the condition that individuals abandon their culture and tribal affiliation. Given this context, we can see why tribal members were unwilling to participate in American politics, and some still are. Yet, these attitudes changed over time, especially following World War II. And the story of Miguel Trujillo is a testament to that shift. So let's get started. Miguel Trujillo was born in 1904 or 1905. And probably sometime in April. Side note, there are Native elders who don't know their birth date, and that makes it difficult to get a birth certificate, and that makes it difficult to get a driver's license, and not having either forms of identification makes it difficult to vote. So back to the story. Miguel Trujillo was born in 1904, 1905. He went to Haskell Institute, received a teaching certificate, and got a job with the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and continued teaching at a few different schools in New Mexico. He taught in Yuma for a few years, transferred to Tohatchee, and then continued teaching at different schools in New Mexico. But after Pearl Harbor, he decided to enlist in the Marines. Based on his experience traveling to different locations and interacting with different tribes, they decided to use him as a recruiting officer for Native Americans. I wonder if he helped recruit the Navajo Code Talkers. As mentioned before, after World War II, Natives got active in politics. You had Jimmy King and Howard Nez, two Navajo Code Talkers who tried to register to vote in San Juan County, New Mexico, but they were denied. You had William Lewis and Mr. Simplicio, two Zunis, and Watson Gibson, a Navajo. They tried registering to vote in McKinley County, but they were denied. In response, they filed a lawsuit together. However, the Zuni Tribal Council was resistant to voting, so the men withdrew their case. And then you had Pete Tapia, a San Juan Pueblo who tried registering to vote in Santa Fe County, but he was denied. And he also filed a lawsuit, but it didn't move forward.
All this to say that Miguel Trujillo was not alone. In fact, the National Congress of American Indians, which was formed in 1944 by 80 delegates from 50 tribes and associations in 27 states, they sent their Billigana lawyer, James Curry, to assist with voting rights cases in New Mexico and Arizona. Because in Arizona, we weren't allowed to vote based on bogus arguments that Native Americans were under federal guardianship, were unfit and incompetent, and therefore ineligible to vote. In New Mexico, we couldn't vote because the state constitution excluded Indians not taxed from the voting booth. Miguel Trujillo, who lived in New Mexico, tried registering to vote in Valencia County, but Eloy Garley, the county recorder, refused because Trujillo was an Indian not taxed. This was bullshit. Trujillo was taxed. He paid federal income tax as a Marine and as a teacher. He didn't pay property taxes, but neither do I. If you live on the res today or you rent, neither do you. Not to mention that Trujillo paid for state sales taxes, gasoline taxes, and the fee for his driver's license. So he sued, bringing about the case Trujillo v. Garley. He lost in a local court, but rather than appeal to state Supreme Court, his team of lawyers managed to get the case in front of a federal court. And in a ruling 3-0, they won. The year was 1948, and this case actually came out just 3 weeks after another historic case in Arizona, Harrison v. Levine. There's a common saying, if you don't vote, you can't complain. And the more you know what it took to get the right to vote, the easier it is to follow that line of thinking. But us here at Little Chase, we're not going to tell you that. When we look at Miguel Trujillo and so many other natives, they weren't given the right to vote. They had to fight for it. They did because they believed the right to vote was worth fighting for. However, while voting is part of the solution, it's not the solution. You need to be engaged beyond the election season because that's when decisions are made. Decisions of resource allocation, decisions on the laws that affect your livelihood, the laws that affect your access to healthcare, access to roads, internet, and clean water. Someone said to pay attention to the elections and not what comes after is akin to watching the draft but not the season. So stay engaged. And again, voting is important. If you have a strong voting bloc, it's more likely that politicians will care about what you care about. Voting is a form of dialogue. It's a tool of political power that's worth fighting for, worth protecting, and we should use it. This election, next election, and going forward. And thank you for watching. This is Little Chase.